It's recap time. I bring you one more recap. Today I'll explain a mystery thriller movie called Fermat's Room from the year 2007. So let's start. The film opens with a young mathematician teaching prime numbers to two girls. A girl shows up asking for an autograph on a magazine that features his face on the cover. The girls ask what's that for, to which he confirms that he solved Goldbach's conjecture, due to which he's getting famous. He's called back to his room, where all of his offline and online statistical data proving he's solved, the conjecture is destroyed by an anonymous entity. The scenes spin to a much older man playing chess with his doctor expressing his suicidal thoughts. He checks his mail to change the subject and finds an invitation letter from a strange entity named Fermat. The letter has a code that needs to be cracked in order to receive more details about the invitation. This leads to the film's third lead, a middle-aged man staying in the library after closing hours, trying to crack the code. Before heading home, the librarian reminds the man to arrange the books in alphabetical order once he's done using them. He thinks of putting the code in alphabetical order and ends up cracking it. It turns out each code is an alias name of a famous mathematician from history for the invited people in order to keep their real identities hidden and join Fermat to solve enigmas in a celebratory event. Once they turn in those codes, they receive the letters detailing a location and a precise time to show up. It also forbids them to bring along their cell phones. The middle-aged man, Pascal, reaches the location at first, which is by the riverbank. The old man, now called Hilbert, has trouble with his car midway through the location, so he hitches a ride, who turns out to be the young mathematician, now called Galois. On the other hand, a woman who's given the name Oliva shows up by the riverbank and greets Pascal. Still on the road, Hilbert confronts that he knows Galois from the article he read on solving the Goldbach conjecture. Upon reaching the riverbank, all four participants are united. They wait for the host, Fermat, to send some transport by 7, which was the precise time of the meetup. Opposite to that, they are flashed by a car at the other end of the river, waiting for them. They find a boat near them and use it to get to the other side of the river, only to find no driver in the car. The car has a connected GPS locator, using which the four mathematicians head to the final location, a warehouse. They enter the main room, which is nicely decorated. As they wait for Fermat, Galois reveals that he pulled some strings at the P.O. Box office and fooled them into giving Fermat's P.O. Box name when he went to post the solution of the coded message to Fermat's address. Unfortunately, he searched him on the internet and found nothing about him. On top of that, he forgets his real name too. Soon Fermat shows up, who happens to be an old man. Before starting the enigma-solving challenges, he helps them to the dinner table and feasts with them. Afterwards, he receives a call from the hospital, where her comatose daughter is admitted, so he leaves, promising to be back in an hour. Pascal notices that Fermat has left his coat, so he runs after him, but Fermat speeds away by then. Fermat's wallet falls out from the coat, revealing to Pascal who he really is when he looks at the picture of his daughter inside the wallet. He returns with a dim expression on his face and shows everyone the wallet. All of his bank cards reveal his name to be Roman, but Galois isn't convinced, as he remembers Fermat's real name being similar to his fake one. Simultaneously, their first enigma is delivered to them with a 1-minute set timer. Pascal stays close to the walls and keeps a strict watch. When a minute passes by, Pascal notices the wall moving closer to him. He immediately rushes towards the blackboard and helps them solve the first enigma, which turns out to be correct. Pascal quickly tells everyone how the walls are shrinking with each riddle. When he goes to open the door, he finds it locked too. Soon, the second enigma is delivered, which happens to be a coded message in binary language, which is ones and zeros. Galois takes 2 different colored small tiles from a drawer and places them as ones and zeros on the table. Hilbert finds some papers from the same drawer, confirming that Fermat bought 4 hydraulic presses 2 months ago. He joins the dots and elaborates to everyone how Fermat has fixed each hydraulic press behind the 4 walls and has set up a 1-minute timer for them to move ahead, causing the room to shrink. Galois drags the piano shelf near a wall and even sits on it to stop, but the walls keep pushing forward, causing the piano to break. Galois falls and throws a childish tantrum. When Oliva sends him back to finish the riddle, Pascal tells everyone that he found Fermat's daughter's picture in his wallet, which turns out to be someone he mistakenly ran over with his car on a rainy night. He thinks it's Fermat's way of taking revenge on him while declaring the others as extras. Galois finishes the riddle and enters the answer skull, which turns out to be correct. Soon comes the third enigma related to bulbs and their switches. They waste their time by conspiring against Fermat, so the walls start to mush closer, causing the light bulbs in the corners to break. To avoid darkness, the men run to take off the other lights. Hilbert slightly burns his fingertips while taking out the light, which helps Oliva figure out the answer, which turns out to be correct. While they wait for the next enigma to pop, Oliva theorizes that Fermat purposefully left his coat for Pascal to discover the picture of his victim in order to mess with him. Her theory turns out to be false when we see Fermat at a gas station failing to pay the gas money because he forgot his wallet at the event. Back in the room, Oliva shows everyone her ID and reveals herself. Pascal quickly takes out a book of all the famous mathematicians from the past and looks for the names Fermat's given them. He discovers that all of them are currently at an age where their alien mathematicians died. Galois feels sick of the game and throws a chair at the wall mirror, assuming Fermat is watching them from behind it, but that's not the case. As a new enigma pops up, the boys come up with an idea to stop the hydraulics, while Oliva solves it alone. The boys place the cupboards diagonally on the ground. Oliva solves the enigma on time and momentarily stops the walls. This time, a new enigma pops up right away. Oliva reads it out loud, hearing which Galois quickly answers but tells her not to insert the answer yet. They start filling the empty spaces in the shelves to strengthen them, but their entire plan backfires and the room continues to shrink. When they decide to insert the answer to stop the walls, they realize the phone is lost in the mess. As they look for the phone, they find an invitation that the boys earlier found from Fermat's coat. Upon reading the invitation, Oliva comes to know that Roman was the fifth player. He was asked to come straight to the warehouse by 10 o'clock and was specifically instructed to bring a phone. Oliva explains how the real mastermind framed Roman and gave him a fake call from the hospital so he could leave. They finally find the phone and answer the enigma to stop the walls. Meanwhile, Roman reaches the hospital and finds out the hospital never called him, so he returns to the warehouse in disappointment. Back inside, Hilbert forces Oliva to tell everyone the truth about Galois since he earlier saw the two kissing. It turns out that Galois and Oliva were dating, but she broke up with him when he kept doubting her for having an affair. Another enigma pops up that Hilbert quietly starts solving. In the meantime, Oliva reveals of a man she met at a yacht party who was involved with some dark and illegal activities and reveals that man is present with them in the room. Galois thinks it's Hilbert, so he raises his hand at him, causing the enigma phone to break, due to which they're unable to stop the walls. Pascal pins the entire blame on Galois after breaking the phone, but realizes he couldn't have done it because Galois was present when Fermat was called from the hospital. At last, Galois sees Hilbert's name initials on his bag and remembers the name he found out from the P.O. box, and busts Hilbert for being the evildoer. They find his phone and call Roman, but he gets pulled over by cops instead. Hilbert finally confesses that he became frustrated and suicidal after finding out Galois solved the conjecture 10 days before him. When he found out he's been sabotaged, he contacted him, but his girlfriend Oliva replied and confirmed Galois' work being sabotaged, which is how he actually knows her, and not through an illegal party. Hilbert shows his conjecture and claims that he did his own work to complete it. Outside, the cops ask for Roman's driver license, so he asks them to follow him to the warehouse from where he can grab his wallet that contains his license. Back in the room, Hilbert reveals his purpose, which was to out Galois to test and include Pascal and Roman in the story, so the cops suspect them for the crime he's committing. Pascal calls Roman once again, but he's accompanied by a cop in his car, so he doesn't answer his phone. On top of that, his car gets crashed because Hilbert messed up his brakes while he pretended to call him from the hospital. Inside the room, Hilbert is willing to die alongside his conjecture in order to go down in history as the only man to have solved Goldbach's conjecture. Galois finally reveals his side of the story. He lied about solving the conjecture to get Oliva's attention, but when the word spread out and he was asked to demonstrate it, he broke his own stuff and made it look like he sabotaged. Hilbert's ego gets stroked hearing this now that he knows he's the first man to ever solve it, but Galois knocks him out with a punch. The others realize Hilbert created the room to test their intelligence, so they look around and end up breaking the blackboard, behind which is a way out. The three escape from there and flee in a boat through the river, where Pascal takes the solved conjecture from Galois' hands and throws it in the river, when Galois is in a dilemma of whether publishing it under Hilbert's name or his. The film ends here. I hope you liked this movie recap. Please comment down on what you liked about this movie and what scene you liked, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.